Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Equestria's Human Spirit, Chapter 8. Me and Pipsqueak were in our room. While Pipsqueak was taking a small nap, I was still figuring out what had happened with the elements. I got up from my chair and walked outside on the balcony, resting my shoulders on the bars. What could it mean? What's the secret behind all that? Why did it even... I stopped when the familiar throbbing coming back into my head. I grabbed it and squeezed my head, not doing me any good then. Flash. I then saw a vision. 3 shadowy figures, each giving me a toothy, wicked grin. You'll regret ever messing with us, Danny boy. I opened my eyes and breathed heavily. Well, I felt sweat trickle down my face. What the hell was all about? What kind of vision did I just see? And mostly, why did it happen? Man, this was making my head spin. I need to think this through. Try to calm down. I sighed and walked back into the room. I grabbed my sword and placed it on my back. I then grabbed a scroll and quill and wrote a small note to Pipsqueak. Pipsqueak, if you get this, I've left the room to go on a calm walk alone. I don't want you to worry, little guy. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. I just need to clear my head. Daniel. I placed the scroll next to him and quietly walked out of the room and closed the door behind me. I walked out of the castle and took a stroll around the city, but not too far from the castle. The last thing I want to do is to get lost. All the Canterlot ponies were doing their usual, talking, eating, and so forth. They were acting more differently than the Ponyville ponies due to how they're behaving, their clothing, and how they communicate with one another. During my calm stroll, they were looking at me. I heard some of them whisper, "Who's that?" "I must say, his clothing is rather dashing." "Is he a god due to the sword on his back?" I smiled and sighed and continued forward while I was lost in thought. And then I didn't see where I was going and bumped into some pony. Landed straight on my ass and rubbed my head. Ow. I opened my eyes and saw a stallion who was wearing a fancy suit with a rose on the side, light blue eyes, fancy mane, tail, and mustache, and wore black pants. The mare next to him was beautiful. She was white like the stallion, had light pink mane, tail, wore a light purple dress, light purple shadowing on her eyes, thick eyelashes, and purple eyes. I quickly got up and bowed my head. "I'm really sorry, mister. I wasn't looking where I was going." I apologized. I looked back up and offered my hand to him. "Let me help you up." He smiled and took it. "Thank you, young man." "Again, I'm really sorry. I was just deep in thought." I apologized again. The stallion chuckled. "Quite all right, sonny. Not the first time some pony bumped into me by mistake." I chuckled a little as well. "Well, glad that's cleared up now. My name is Daniel Blaze, by the way," I greeted. The stallion and mare looked at me with surprise. "Wait, you're the Daniel Blaze? The pony that took her down, the Leviathan Veronis from Ponyville?" the stallion asked. I was surprised by that. "Well, I'm actually a human. And how do you know about that?" "The news has spread fast, and some of the Canterlot ponies know about it as well," the mayor explained. "Wow, I hope I don't become a celebrity," I joked and laughed, and the two laughed as well. "Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Daniel. I'm Fancy Pants, and this is Fleur-de-Lis," he greeted. "Fleur is fine with me, and I must say you're a handsome young man, aren't you?" she asked in a rather seductive voice. I blushed deeply and laughed. "Yeah, I've been getting that for a bit. No surprise there." "By the way, where do you live, Mr. Daniel?" he asked. "I live in Ponyville with Twilight and her friends," I said. "Really? Do you know a mare named Rarity by any chance?" Fancy Pants asked. I smiled. "Of course I know her. She's one of my friends. How do you know her?" I asked. "Rarity and I are good friends. She's such a lovely mare. Please tell her I said hi, he requested. Will do. Well, I don't want to keep you two waiting. I'm going to walk around a little longer and then head back to the castle and, I said, but was cut off. You're staying at the castle? Fancy Pants asked, surprised. I nodded. Yeah, I'm staying there for the time being during my visit here in Canterlot, I explained. Well, Fleur and I are impressed. Not many ponies stay at the castle, Fancy Pants said. Well, it's my first time living at a castle and meeting the princesses, I explained. Fancy Pants and Fleur looked at one another and smiled, and then looked back at me. How long will you be visiting Canterlot, Mr. Daniel? Fancy Pants asked. Probably for 2 days. Why do you ask? I asked. Me and Fleur will be seeing the Wonderbolts race today. We will be delighted that you would join us, Fancy offered. Really? You don't mind at all? I asked, surprised. Not at all. I would like to know more about you, and any pony who's friends with the princess and Rarity is a friend of mine, he said, smiling. Man, I can't believe I'm making friends fast. I was surprised and happy at the same time. Not wanting to be rude by the offer, I smiled and nodded. I would be honored to join you and Fleur. The two smiled. Excellent. Meet us at the stadium at 5. We'll be looking forward to seeing you again, Fancy said. Me as well, Fancy Pants, I said, holding my hand out to him. He smiled and shook it. I smiled at Fleur and held my hand out to her. It was nice meeting you, Fleur. She smiled and shook my hand. You as well, dear. I'll be looking forward to seeing you again. She leaned forward and kissed my cheek, and my face flared up. She giggled while the two walked away. Couldn't believe I got kissed by another mare. First Twilight, and now Fleur. How in the world am I so popular with the mares? Well, might as well head back to the castle now. Another thing came to mind. Who are the Wonderbolts? I shrugged it off and walked back. It was around noon, so I had plenty of time until the race at the stadium. If I knew where it was. I'll ask Celestia later on. I walked back inside, glad that the guards didn't piss me off when I walked through. I made it back into the throne room, where Celestia and Luna were talking to Twilight, Pipsqueak, Spike, and the others. Pipsqueak turned and saw me. Daniel! He ran to me and pounced on me with a hug. I smiled and patted his back. Where have you been? Rainbow asked. I shrugged. I took a stroll through some parts of Canterlot and met some nice ponies. I turned to Rarity. By the way, Rarity, do you know a stallion by the name of Fancy Pants by any chance? She gasped. I do! How do you know him? She asked, surprised. I chuckled sheepishly. Well, I kind of bumped into him, if you know what I mean. I see. What did you and him talk about? She asked. Not much. He told me he and this mare named Fleur know about my victory from the Veronis battle, and they told me many of the Canterlot ponies know about it, I explained. Wow! Never thought the word could spread fast, Rainbow said. I chuckled. You know what you mean. Hope I don't become a celebrity, I said, making us all laugh. Our laughter silenced when the doors opened. I turned and saw another stallion. He had white fur like some of the ponies I've been seeing. He had light blue eyes, had golden hair, and a tail, along with wearing a fancy outfit. Auntie Celestia, I've just returned from the Griffin Kingdom and... He paused when he saw me with wide eyes. He was silent for the moment until he practically shouted, By the name of Starswirl the Bearded, what in the name of Tartarus is that monstrosity? He asked, pointing at me. I groaned. Great, just what I needed. Another asshole. Calm yourself, Blueblood. This is Daniel Blaze. He is a human, and our guest, Celestia explained. Blueblood? This must be the stallion Rarity and Rainbow brought up a few weeks ago. A human? Why would you let a foul monster in our kingdom, Auntie? He asked, pissed. I growled at him. What the hell is his problem? You will respect him as one of our guests, Blueblood, Celestia said sternly. I looked at the girls, and Rarity, Twilight, Applejack, and Rainbow looked pretty pissed. What the hell is his problem? I asked Twilight. That's Blueblood. He's Princess Celestia's nephew, and he's a royal pain in the flank, Twilight hissed. I went wide-eyed. Wait, He's Celestia's nephew? I asked, shocked. Blueblood smiled wickedly. That's right, foul creature, and you're gonna show the respect I deserve. I glared at him for a bit until I spoke. You expect me to respect you because you're a prince. Well, think again. I only show respect to those who show kindness and friendship to me. Another thing, I have a name, and it goes by Daniel. Also, you better have that attitude of yours changed, snowballs. Blueblood went wide-eyed, and I heard some of the girls snicker under their breath. What did you call me? He asked, pissed. I smirked. I called you Snowballs. Snowballs. I leaned forward a little while keeping my smirk. Get the picture. At the instant, the Snickers burst into laughter, and I saw Twilight, Applejack, Pinky, and Rainbow on the ground, clutching their stomachs while tears fell from their eyes. Rarity was laughing as well, by the new name I gave him, which got me to chuckle as well. I also saw Pipsqueak laughing. I turned back to Blueblood, who had a fumed, angry face. How dare you, you foul beast! Auntie, send this beast to the dungeons at once! I was thrown back a little when he mentioned dungeons. I looked at Celestia and Luna, who had straight faces. Finally, Celestia spoke. You need to have more self-control, my nephew. I will not throw Daniel in the dungeons. I sighed in relief, glad they won't throw me away. Blueblood growled and stomped out of the room and slammed the door shut. Celestia sighed and shook her head. I looked up at her and scratched the back of my head. Did I go too far? No, and I'm sorry for the treatment he gave you, Celestia apologized. What's his problem, anyway? I asked. He thinks he's all high and mighty. He only respects himself and a few Canterlot ponies, and no pony else, Rainbow explained while picking herself up. Not to mention he's a royal pain in the flank. He treated me unladylike at the gala a while back, Rarity added. Still didn't understand what this gala was. Decided to save it another time. I nodded in understanding. I then turned to Celestia and asked, By the way, Celestia, do you know where the stadium is by any chance? Yes, the stadium is north of Canterlot. Why do you ask? Celestia asked me. Fancy Pants offered me to go see the Wonderbolts race today at 5, but who are they? I asked. Without knowing, a pair of cyan hands grabbed me, and I was spun around to face Rainbow, who had a shocked face. How in the name of Celestia do you not know about the Wonderbolts? She asked, practically shouting. From another world, remember? I said plainly. Oh. She let go of me and smiled sheepishly. She then explained. The Wonderbolts are Equestria's top Pegasus flyers. They are the masters of flight, performing amazing aerial maneuvers and feats. It has always been my dream to join them in the skies. Oh, so they're like the Blue Angels, I said. Blue Angels? I asked. They're an air force that works for a team called the Navy. Their job is to keep our world safe, and they're the fastest around, I explained. Ooh, they sound really cool, but I don't think they're as fast as me, Rainbow said, receiving a chuckle from me. Maybe not, I said. Then the sound of my stomach went off by a huge volume. And they all looked at me with surprise. I blushed embarrassingly and looked away, scratching my cheek. I heard the sounds of the girls giggling. Sounds like some pony's hungry, I heard Twilight say. I chuckled sheepishly. Yeah, I haven't eaten anything while I was recovering, and haven't gotten a chance to get breakfast either, I said. Well, it seems lunch has already started. Please, follow me to the dining room, Celestia said. We all followed Celestia and Luna to the dining room, while I continued to admiring the beauty of the castle. Pipsqueak was on my shoulders, enjoying his piggyback ride, which earned me a smile. Daniel, I heard Celestia said, which made me turn to her. I've been meaning to ask you, why do you carry around that sword? I smiled. It was a gift given to me by my grandfather. He told me it would bring good luck to me. I never leave it out of my sight, I explained. Are you good with it? She asked. I manage, but my training is still incomplete. I still have a long way to go before I can reach my full potential with wielding it, I said. How long have you been trained with the sword? Celestia asked. 3 years, but I still have yet to finish, I answered. Amazing! Why does it take you so long to master the sword? Celestia asked. The way of wielding the sword takes a lot of patience and skill. In order to know full understanding and ways with the sword, you must know the ways of how the samurai use them, I explained. What are these samurai you speak of? Luna asked, walking next to me. Samurai are legendary warriors that are skilled with swords, and they show honor on the battlefield and protect the innocent with their lives, I explained. My grandfather was once a samurai, but retired as once when he became 70 years old. By the time he trained me for 3 years under the ways of the samurai ways and how to wield a sword, he even passed down some of his secrets to me. Interesting. You have to show me your skills later on, Celestia said. I nodded a little, giving her the approval to see what I can do with my sword. We all made it to the dining room, and we all sat down at the long table. Pipsqueak sat next to me, while AJ, Twilight, and Rarity sat next to me, and Celestia, Luna, and the others sat in front of us. A waiter came by and took our orders. With that, I end this part of Equestria Human Spirits, Chapter 8.